Hello, friends. You are live with Coach Dave. I'm going to be adding a few people on here to see this. This is going to be a very important video today. Today, I'm going to talk about the dangers that come about when the legislature allows for a private company or an agency which is administrative to bypass the law and to perform functions that they should not be allowed to do because they're pursuing business outside of what would be lawful, or they're not giving due process. So they're allowed to kind of like bypass the law in their daily activities, which any other man or woman in this world would not be allowed to do. There is no right for any legislature, there is no right for any governing body to give power to individuals to break the law. And this is the specific reason that we have the Administrative Procedures Act preventing agencies from being able to use judicial power. This is why we have the Magna Carta, because a king would have a parliament or have a body that creates law. And what will happen is that if a king wanted something, he would just go and take it for his own benefit using a separate court that he had that pretty much just whatever he wanted, they just gave it to him. So this is a very important subject because it's something that's not discussed, and I'm adding people on, so forgive me for looking down. But this is a very important subject because many people today are being trampled in courts or in what they think is court, and not giving due process. And for the life of us, we can't understand why these things are happening. And so we many of us know what happened with the situation with my little guys. The court so-called says that they severed rights. An administrative court said that they severed rights on the 16th of January or December. Let me see. 16th of December, I'm sorry. Was it the 16th? No, it's maybe 16th of January, I'm sorry. But anyway, they said that they severed rights. So what I'm going to do today is do what my God would have me to do. Now, you know, it's a blessed thing. Hey, Karen. It's a blessed thing to be able to just have joy and have fun in life. But to whom much is given, we know that much is required. So what I want to do is break down the facts, break down some of the things that we can see based on real law. Because I showed you guys that the courts were working as trust down in the juvenile court in Arizona and in many places across the country. They're under what's called the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, and it's a membership organization that's running cases or handling cases. And there's many different, there's trusts that branch off from that, and there's companies, administrative agencies that are doing things that they are not allowed to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start exposing what it is that happened. And I have so much evidence and so many things that are criminal in nature. I mean, things that can get people in trouble for treason. It's that bad. Now, what I'm going to do is let us see something first that has to do with some of the court cases, because we haven't been trained as a people in a long time on our rights and what it is that is available for us to make sure that we don't have bad things happen to us, or that we're aware of what's happening so we can kind of stop it. So what I'm going to do is read to you some case law first, and then I'm going to let a caseworker out of their own mouth tell you what it is that they took part in and what it is that that happened to me. Okay, so watch this. And maybe I'll go on the screen so you can see it. Let me see if I can turn it around for you. So you're gonna hear my voice, and you're gonna see the video. I mean, you're gonna see what I have on my screen. So right here, we're gonna look here. It says due process is obstructed when social workers commit fraud on the courts. All right. So that's Mariana Islands versus Bowie. A parent has a clearly established right not to be subjected to deception in the presentation of evidence perpetrated by a child protective services worker in juvenile dependency proceedings. Okay. Marshall versus County of San Diego. The Constitution requires that government officials not misrepresent the facts in order to obtain the removal of a child from his parents. A parent's constitutional rights are violated when a social worker obtains a court order through distortion, misrepresentation, and or omission. Okay, so omission being they have something that they know will not make their case look as good as it could. So then they just don't turn that in. So that would be called like exculpatory evidence, where a parent has something that shows that they didn't do anything wrong or there's nothing happening. If you look here, it says a social worker cannot reasonably believe that he or she is acting lawfully in making false statements to the juvenile court. Okay, I might have some of these that might be showing up twice, so forgive me if I do. Juvenile proceedings based on misrepresentation and omission do not constitute notice and an opportunity to be heard. Okay. Now, this is going to get really, really deep, so I want y'all to pay attention. This is going to get huge. The Constitution guarantees the right to be free from the presentation of false, perjured, and or fabricated evidence and the withholding of known exculpatory evidence. Remember that, by government officials during judicial proceedings. Okay? Now, this is a deep thing because in Arizona, we have a court that is not really a court. It's a trust or a private membership organization that runs as a trust that is administrative and is not running in a judicial capacity at many times. So we have to look at this. So now let's look a little bit deeper. It says to support a 1983 cause of action based on a claim of deception upon judicial officers by a social worker, the plaintiff must show the social worker deliberately or in reckless disregard of the truth made false statements or omitted exculpatory evidence that was material to the findings of the juvenile court. Okay? That's Green versus Cameretta. Okay? Now, here's another one. Plaintiff need only prove defendants knew or reasonably should have known their allegations were false. It is not necessary to further prove the defendant made the allegations with a specific intent to deceive the court. That's Franks versus Delaware. So we have quite a few more. We have some definitions from Black's Law Dictionary and other things. Watch this. Reckless disregard for the truth may be inferred when a social worker knows that important factual information exists but omits the information. Okay? And that's... I think it's Chisholm versus Washington State, okay? A social worker acts with reckless regard for the truth when omission and false statements contained in a document were all facts that were within the social worker's personal knowledge, okay? So we can see here that a social worker cannot just know about evidence, have evidence, and not turn it in. They should understand they can't do this, okay? Now watch this. A reasonable fact finder could also find that the officers acted recklessly or intentionally because the false statements and omissions contained in the affidavit all bolster the case for probable cause, which suggests that the mistakes were not the product of mere negligence. Okay? So, we see all these, right? So, the reason that I'm showing you guys this is that in my case, we have a situation where a man came to see us. This man knew that we presented him evidence in his hand, and I took a picture. I had a video and a picture of this man, taking the evidence. He looks at the evidence. He says, oh, this is good faith. You know, he looks at the evidence, takes it. We talk for for probably at least 2 hours. And this gentleman takes that evidence. He meets with his partner, or he talks to his partner. They move forward to do a petition to remove the little ones, my little ones, from the home. But the problem is that if you're doing a petition to remove the little ones and you had evidence for weeks and you decide not to turn it in based on what we just saw, is that due process? Is not. So when you are not given due process and there's fraud upon the court, and I'll get the case law for you guys for you to see it. When there's no due process and someone fails to or deceives the court in order to remove a little one, even though this isn't actually a court, it's a trust, and they have to actually have your consent to get you involved in this thing, and it's not based off the Constitution or anything like that. They have their own bylaws and their own constitution inside of a trust or a private membership organization. I told you guys about that before. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to not only, as I just got done doing, show you the case law that says that a social worker cannot have known exculpatory evidence and go get a juvenile dependency petition and not give it to the judge. But if they're acting together knowing that this exists and they don't want to turn it in, and they just decide that, hey, we're going to make the petition to take your little ones, but we're not going to turn in the evidence that shows that your little ones, and let me tell you what the evidence was. Something just told me, because I saw how Arizona CPS was known for making up lies on people. They were known for getting kids inside of their care and then the kids getting injured. I know of occasions where a kid got raped and a mom tried to tell, they severed her rights, but that's neither here nor there. I just want you to kind of see the facts, because this video is 30 minutes long that I'm getting ready to break down some of the information off of. So there's some other stuff on there, and I'll get it out as I break down the evidence. But they had 2 hearings without us, even though they had our phone number. And the one gentleman who is the partner of the woman you're going to hear, he had the ability to turn in the evidence. He did not turn it in. She knew he had it. She didn't try to get it from him. But she continued to push forth a petition to take the little ones. Now, on this document, I didn't even know what it said completely until just recently. But what it was is, there is a doctor who is a retired major in the military. And this doctor attends church with us. He's a mandated reporter. So if he sees evidence of a neglect or abuse or something wrong, he has to tell, no matter if he's working or not, at work or not. So he did an interview of the little ones, and what he did was he wrote into the interview that, look, I did a full interview of the little ones. I checked over them to make sure they had no bruises or marks or anything like that, nothing that would show any signs of neglect or abuse. And then he put in, which I did not know, that he's seen the little ones at church events, the whole family pretty much, since they were birthed or born. So he witnessed the little ones since they were born. He said they've never showed any signs of a neglect or abuse. Now, he is trained in spotting neglect or abuse. So he's a licensed doctor, trained in neglect and abuse. He's a retired major in the military, a high-ranking official. He doesn't play around, Well, and he has reported neglect before. So he's reported neglect before. So you guys seen the case law. The case law says that you cannot be a social worker and not give evidence to the court showing them things that are exculpatory. So exculpatory things are things that would tend to prove that the person who you're trying to investigate against did not do anything wrong. So when this doctor signs off, I had a notary come in the middle of the night, 10 o'clock at night. The notary signed off. So there's a notary there who witnessed what happened. There's a doctor there who witnessed what happened. The preacher from church videotaped the event. So it's known that the little ones got checked and everyone made sure there was nothing wrong with them, right? And there was nothing wrong with them. Okay. Now, never has been. But the whole issue is that when the caseworkers wanted to remove my little ones, because my older daughter through marriage made accusations after we told her we were going to bring her to homeschool. She was dealing with some real bad boys. We told her we were going to bring her to homeschool. She made allegations 2 days later. Now, this is the 4th time in her history that she has done this between 3 different people. So it's not just me. She did it to her own dad, and she did it to 2 other people. I mean, one other person, okay? So this is how she gets down. Now, the factual things that we need to look at is the issue with what happens. They call themselves, well, Derek, we don't even need a polygraph because she's made 3 different stories that CPS hid. Okay, so CPS and the Attorney General's office hid 2 stories that she made for months and tried to use one in order to get the case moving. And then when I found the second one, and I asked, where did you guys get this from? Where did you guys get all these different stories from? And why didn't you give them to us? And I showed that there was fraud upon the court. Now with the Attorney General, the Assistant Attorney Generals, the caseworkers knew about the different stories, and the one worker who didn't turn in the evidence had a wire on and caught her telling lies that were totally different than her other 2 stories on a 3rd date. Okay, so 3 different stories that totally conflicted each other. She was saying, I think, you know, and just making up stuff. Like, I mean, it was crazy, you know. So the stories just, you know, she just made them up as she went. So anyway, they hit it, but that's not what I want to hit right now. I'll hit that later, because what I plan on doing is exposing all the parties involved and letting you hear them with their own voice tell what they did. All right. So it's one thing when someone says that, hey, somebody took my kids and we went to court and it was bad or whatever. And then they, you know, things went bad. And then they say something happened. See, for me, from before the event, I have evidence of them committing fraud. So it's not like I'm saying, hey, they decided to sever my rights a couple of weeks ago, now I'm mad. No. Before I started gaining evidence of them committing fraud, and it's spread out around the country right now because I know that Arizona gets mad when you tell, so they're probably going to try to do something, but it doesn't matter. You know, it is what it is. What I'm going to do is let you guys hear the caseworker tell herself that she's committing fraud. Yes, sir, Brian, I will. Watch this. So there's a lot of stuff on this tape, so you're going to hear some things that might not be explained completely just because we're going through this part of it. But what I want you to hear is the fact that she knows that there's exculpatory evidence that exists, but she did not get it. She did not add it into her paperwork when she wanted to get the petition. So if you're trying to take my little ones, and there was also some pictures of some bad things that my daughter was doing with the little boys that was given to this guy too. Hey, Edward, he didn't turn that in either. Because if he would have turned that evidence in, he would have known that the little boys are the ones who are being aggressive towards her and not me. But he hid that too. But I'm going to let you guys hear this so you can understand what's going on. Watch this.
Very serious.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Because
you have refused to speak with law enforcement or DCS at this time. We do not have any.
Is that?
Now, what she just said was you have refused to speak with law enforcement or DCS at this time. So now she just tells a lie, but I want you to hear it. Listen.
The truth, ma'am?
Any word off of yours?
Ma'am, I gave a testimony to law enforcement already.
Are we
Hold on.
innocent?
Ma'am,
watch this.
I gave testimony to the law enforcement already.
Okay, and that's the criminal part of it, and that's fine. You can deal with the criminal part. This is as far as the dependency for the children.
Okay, but you just said that I wasn't willing to talk to CPS or the law enforcement, and I did give my testimony already. So that's not a true statement.
I understand you provided the affidavit.
Okay, so the thing is that, so then I did, and so if you have knowledge that I produced that, then it's not that I wasn't willing to speak to anyone. I gave my testimony.
Well, investigation.
Now, notice what happens. So she said, you have refused to talk to law enforcement or CPS or DCS. I said, I didn't. I said, no, I gave my affidavit to the police. They have it. She said, oh, I know about your affidavit. And she saw my daughter through marriage's affidavit. So she knows that I communicated with them because I gave an affidavit to show exactly what happened. I told my little one, my daughter through marriage, that she was going to homeschool because she was getting into a lot of trouble and bad stuff was happening. People were trying to jump her. Right after that happened, 2 days later, she backdates accusations 2 weeks and say that something happened 2 weeks ago. Now, she says that I would not communicate, but then she says, oh, well, I know about the affidavit. So if you know about the affidavit, why would you say I wasn't willing to talk to the police or CPS? I gave them the affidavit. You can clearly see what the truth was. You can clearly see that there was a conflict of interest there. But you want to say that I wouldn't talk to anybody? That's just a bold-faced lie. All right? Now, let's continue to listen.
It can be completely closed, and depending on whether or not you are charged with the crime, which is still up in the air.
Now, notice she says, depending on if you're charged, that's up in the air. Of course it's up in the air because you know darn well, just as well as I know, that there was multiple stories that was told, and you and the OCWI worker who had the wire on him recorded the information being given about multiple stories. But they hid that for months, and I have proof they hid it for months. So they hid evidence showing that there was multiple stories while trying to take the little ones and hiding or not giving the exculpatory evidence that showed that nothing was wrong with my little guys. As a matter of fact, later on, if God lets me live, I'll show you guys on audio tape the investigator who recorded us from CPS. I'm going to show you where he says, he checked the records and saw that nothing was wrong with the kids, so he didn't feel like he had to fly down a building or anything. He knew there was no exigent circumstances. He knew. And then he left us there with them for 3 weeks without any other action while he went and didn't present evidence to a judge while they're trying to get a dependency petition. So they're trying to take the kids and hide evidence, right? So continue to listen because I'm down to 15%, so I got to get this out to you guys.
Then this is not going anywhere.
Okay, so can I ask a question?
Notice her cockiness. She says, "Oh, until this gets closed, this ain't going nowhere." So she's telling me she's picking up my kids and taking them, and she made a petition to do it, and this ain't going nowhere until we know if I'm charged or whatever. It's been over a year, and I have no charges. Why do I have no charges? They know darn well that she made 3 different stories. They know it's a lie. But without criminal proceedings and without a consent decree, you can't move a court to take someone's kids. But what she did was they did a dependency petition, knowing that there were 3 stories out there, took my little ones, held them from me, held them from my wife, and did not turn in evidence in the process. Okay? So there's evidence where it's admitted that some little boy was forcing my daughter through marriage to do stuff. And yet, they don't tell that. They want to hide that, and that's on a picture, and blame stuff on me when they know darn well she made 3 different stories at that time, and they hid it for months. Okay? So you can't make a story that say I did something wrong to you, then you make a story that say I told you to do something wrong to yourself, and some other crazy stuff, and then you make another story to say, oh, I think he did this. No, I think he did that. Oh, no, maybe it was this. You cannot do that and hide that information and someone be given due process. But you can hide evidence and stuff like that if you're in a trust. See, in a trust is not a court, so there's no duty for them to tell you anything. So when you catch them slipping, they stop and do what's called a estoppel because they have the right to remain silent in a trust because they're acting in their private capacity. They're not acting as judges and attorneys. They're acting, okay? And I showed you guys proof of that. But watch this. Listen to this.
And I want to make sure that we do everything, by the law and everything right, I believe.
Now, you see, I say I want to do everything by the law. I want to do everything right because I have this belief in the law since I was little. I've never been arrested, never been in trouble or anything like that. I have always believed in the law. But when I saw what they were doing, I'm like, wait, this ain't nothing about the law. Yes, sir, Ryan, I will get that done for you. Watch this.
Believe in the law. So with you, are you the actual person who's pushing forth the action to have the kids removed and you push forth for the order? It was actually you as Brittany, the woman?
Yes, I was the person that...
Notice I'm calling her out as a woman, which gives her liability as a woman. So now she just opened herself up to a lawsuit as a woman, okay? She can't hide as the state actor no more. I said, are you the woman who did this? Watch this. Oh, shucks, I muted it by mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. So you, Brittany, as the woman, is you that is filing the petition, and I see that Mike has worked with you.
So she filed the petition.
You are telling me as the woman.
Mike worked with her. Watch this.
Brittany, that Mike, the man, did not give you exculpatory evidence to give to the judge?
He did not.
Okay.
Whoa. Now watch. I said, so you, the woman, are telling me that Mike, the man, did not give you exculpatory evidence to turn it to the judge. Now, she said, no, he did not. So she tells that this man did not give exculpatory evidence, but now she's going to tell on herself so bad it's going to get ugly. Watch this. Watch what she says.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you for telling me the truth. So if that's the case,
He did tell me about it. I do not have the paperwork.
He did tell me about it. I do not have the paperwork. Did y'all hear that? Can y'all hear this? Let me know if y'all can hear this. I asked, did he give you the evidence? She said, he did not give me the evidence, but she knew the evidence existed, just like we saw in the case law. She knew it existed because she said, he did not give it to me, but he told me about it. She just told that he told her about it. Did y'all hear this? And I'm going to give it to y'all so y'all can share it publicly, because this is fraud upon the court before the case even starts. So whenever there's fraud upon the court, there's a maxim of law that says, once there's fraud, it's always fraud. No amount of time can get rid of the fraud. You can't correct fraud. You can't stop fraud. Once a fraud, always a fraud. So if she committed fraud upon the court before the case even freaking started, and she's making a petition and committing fraud upon the court, it gets worse and worse and worse. And I'm not done, y'all. I'm not done. I love my people. I know I might get in trouble for this. They might want to kill me for this because they make $1.3 billion a year off of our kids. But I'm going to show what these people do. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you treason if God lets me live. If they don't give me my kids back quickly, I might even show y'all a judge commit treason out of her own freaking mouth. As a matter of fact, I'll let you get a caseworker who will tell on tape that he knows that there was fraud upon the court, and I told the judge, and the judge said she wasn't going to do anything. I mean, that she wasn't the police. And he admits it in front of like 9 police officers, and it's recorded. And it's in multiple places, so if they decide to do something, y'all still going to hear it. If Coach Dave disappears, they do something to me, y'all still going to hear it. Let's continue to listen.
He told you about it.
Michael works for the Office of Child Welfare Investigation. So we worked, he's in a separate criminal justice agency from the department.
Gotcha.
Notice how she stuttered now. He's in a. Yeah, because she knows now, oh shucks, I just told. Watch this.
Together,
okay.
As well as working with law enforcement to work these kind of criminal cases and figure out if there's any truth to them.
Now notice she said these types of criminal cases. There is no freaking criminal case. I've never been charged. I never had anything happen. So you can't call this a criminal case. What this is you're hiding like it's a criminal case so you can take the kids. You're hiding the evidence that shows that nothing is wrong with the kids, but you want to remove them from me because you know you get money. As a matter of fact, there's a document out there that says that I hid them behind the door, but the guy's wire says that, oh, who's this? Is this your little son? And he calls his name. Oh, he's beautiful. They're falling in love with these kids, little blue-eyed, blonde-haired boy, and they're falling in love, and they're looking at the other guys. Oh, you got beautiful kids. I'm like, oh, here we go. He didn't call them beautiful. He's shopping, you know. But watch this.
If there's any need for the children to be, if there's like any safety issues with the children, and to determine what needs to happen moving forward.
Okay, ma'am, can I ask you that?
Now, they did all this. They took the kids over 72 hours, tried to do an investigation or whatever, nothing. And then you don't press charges? You don't press charges because this is only an attempt to bypass the law. An administrative agency is making decisions in my life and other people's life as if they're a judicial system. This is an administrative agency. It can't be administrative and judicial at the same time. The judges are signing off or rubber stamping whatever CPS says they want. So what's happening is that an agency is acting like a king, saying, I'm the king, I do whatever I want to do, and I'm not bound by the law. Let's keep listening.
Yeah, so if you're pushing forth the action and Mike has not given you, so you just admitted that he told you that we gave him something, but he did not give it to you.
He told you.
So is it fair then, as you being Brittany, the woman who is dealing with a situation that affects us, is it fair for the judge not to be given exculpatory evidence that Mike was given, even though he admitted to you that he had it?
The judge is going to be given everything that the OCWI.
The judge is going to be given everything that the OCWI. But you already did the petition. You got my kids in your custody. You got my kids in your care, and you prevented the judge from knowing evidence that showed that I didn't have nothing to do with anything this young lady said. But you hide the information that shows the kids are healthy. You hide the pictures that show that somebody else is bothering her or whatever, and show the crimes that are happening. You hide that so that you can take the little ones. Let's hear more.
Okay. They're going to be given absolutely everything. What I'm telling you,
they're going to be given absolutely everything.
Would not have mattered in my decision in filing this.
Whoa! Did y'all hear that? She says what he had, so she knows what he had. What he had would not have mattered in my decision to file the petition. So now she's God. She goes beyond her scope of practice. She goes beyond her power and decides for the judge that she's not going to let the judge see anything that has to do with what this man has gotten for me. See? Watch this.
That affects us. Is it fair for the judge not to be given exculpatory evidence that Mike was given, even though he admitted to you that he had it?
The judge is going to be given everything that the OTWI has, okay? They are going to be given absolutely everything. What I'm telling you is what he has would not have mattered in my decision in filing this petition.
So even if there's exculpatory evidence that shows that the child is lying and the child has done these types of things before, it wouldn't matter to you. You would just continue to push forward no matter what?
So you just said I'm supposed to believe her word, or that I am believing her word. But how am I supposed to believe your word that she's lying about this in the past?
Well,
I'm not here to...
Now, this is a problem, though, because she has the evidence and the history of her making these reports on people in the past, including her own dad, me before when I took her iPhone 5. So you don't lie now. You got the history in front of you, and you know darn well this is something she does when she gets mad. And it's never been substantiated, but then they tried to act like in the reports that it was substantiated or something like that. That's a bunch of garbage. That's a bunch of garbage. But this girl knows she's doing wrong and she's caught. But watch what she does when she continues to speak. Watch this.
To pick or choose sides at this point. My job is just...
She says she don't want to choose sides, but you chose to remove my little ones with a dependency order and not turn in the evidence that shows that there was nothing wrong. The only person who was a licensed doctor in this whole situation, you don't turn in his paperwork, but you try to call my wife crazy, who's a nurse, Arizona state licensed nurse. You call her crazy and say there's something wrong with her. She's not taking care of her mental condition. So you're diagnosing her with a mental condition without a license. But the dude who really has a license, who shows, hey, there's nothing wrong with these kids. I see them all the time. He knows them personally. You don't turn in his evidence, though. Okay, all right.
Gain facts from everybody. I gain all the information.
She gained facts from everybody.
And then
do an investigation.
A determination on whether or not that there's concern. At this time, there's concern.
She makes a determination if there are concerns after she gained evidence from everybody and turns. I mean, she gets everything, but don't you have to turn in everything as an investigator? I mean, we got some guys who worked in the federal government. We got Derek Smith on here. He would know if you have to turn in evidence. I talked to a Arizona State police officer the other day. He said, man, what she did was a crime, and it was custodial interference against you. He said, you need to get the law and press charges criminally against her. All right? Now, so we see clearly that there's some problems here. Just somebody throw me some likes if you see that this is a problem. Now, this isn't during court. This is before court. So before court even happened, they took the kids, made a decision to not turn in evidence. The case law says that if exculpatory evidence is not turned in or there's fraud upon the court, it gets rid of the jurisdiction for the whole court for the whole time. The court no longer has jurisdiction. Somebody show me love if y'all think this even makes sense. If it's dumb, y'all tell me as the people. Just say, David, this is dumb. Stop talking about it. And I'll stop. But if you see that somebody is getting evidence, this is the problem. Well, the thing is, the case is over, Derek. And here's the problem. The whole case lacks jurisdiction when she commits fraud upon the court before the court case even starts. Okay? Before the case started, she opened up the court case. She made the petition as the woman who did it with fraud upon the court, which means that there is no, my phone might shut off because the battery's getting low. There is no jurisdiction in the court anymore. And it's not even a court. It's a private trust. It's a private company, a private membership organization holding court cases as if they're the superior court. They're under the umbrella of the superior court, which is a court of record. So it's not even a true court of record. down at the building on 3131 Durango is not really what we think it is. All right. So they're telling us what they are when they give us minute orders. They're calling it orders, but it's actually in the form of minutes, which show that there's been a trust meeting or a 501c3 business meeting or that type of organization meeting. And they're just giving you something telling you what they're making decisions on, but it's not a judicial decision because a administrative hearing officer cannot make judicial decisions. If somebody's going to say that you did something wrong, it needs to be a trial, and it needs to be by your peers. Okay, it has to be. I'm gonna do a demand to vacate, and I'm going to show the fraud. So I'll take it straight to the Supreme Court. I'm not going to play and try to ask for permission for the court to try to be right when it's not even a court. And they're lying and acting like they're running a judicial process when it's an administrative process. And this is why the Administrative Procedures Act was even made in the first place. Let me let you guys hear a little bit more, and then I'm going to get off ended.
Okay, so you're okay with removing our babies, which are proper to us, exclusive to us. You're okay with removing the babies without knowing both sides of the story, as you say yourself?
Well, we tried to get both sides of the story.
When did you try?
When I tried to set up, and I left Brandy several messages to meet with.
Notice, can y'all hear her voice is starting to crack now? She knows she's in trouble. You can hear the difference in her voice, but she's saying that she tried to get information from a wife. Number one, no man or woman is compelled to talk to a CPS investigator or demanded or mandated to talk to a CPS investigator. That's not the law, okay? The law doesn't say that you have to talk to a police officer. You ain't got to talk to a CPS investigator. You ain't got to do none of that. So you can't just say, well, oh, you didn't talk to us and we had concerns, so we made the decision to just snatch your kids up and make a petition and hide evidence because we're God. No, you're not God, and you're not my judge. So you can't do that, all right? Listen.
With her, and she said she would call me back and we'd meet, and then at that point she said that she was not going to talk with the department because
why she lied?
That you guys had attorneys.
Okay.
Now she said she wasn't going to talk to the department because she had attorneys, but how does she know that? If she talked to her at one time and then didn't talk to her again. Watch this.
So, wait. So did she tell this to you or did she tell this to Mike?
I spoke with Brandy as far as her coming to meet with me. And she said she would call me back later and then she would meet with me. From there, I did not hear personally back from Brandy.
Okay,
I left her a couple messages. I gave her the week that she said that she needed. And then from there, we moved forward with the investigation.
Okay, so can I ask you?
The rest of the information comes from Michael, as he is also an investigator that is helping with this case.
Brandy,
but I'm not going to sit here and argue about it. We can argue about it in court, and I will tell you
this is
the department's asking.
This is where it gets bad. So she says, "I'm not going to sit here and argue about it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and argue about it. We can argue about it in court." Now, here's the problem: if somebody is supposed to be a neutral investigator, why should we have to argue about it in court? Why can't you just show the evidence that you have, and I show the evidence I have, and why can't you show the evidence you gained from the parents? Because you're going to the parents in a position of trust, okay? You're going to the parents in a position of trust, and you're acting as if you're a member of a government agency. Really, you're a member of a private company. CPS is a private company, okay? And a private company is considered a person, and a person has the right to remain silent. So if you committed fraud and you did something wrong against the people, you have the right to remain silent. A public official, though, does not have that same right. A public official is supposed to tell what was done right or wrong because they have a duty to the public. You see what I'm saying? Now, they get $80,000 to $140,000 per little one. That's mine. So they get 4 kids, $80,000 each a year. And they split up money between each other, and it's a private trust. And inside of a private membership organization, you can commingle funds, you can do whatever, you can have your own constitution. And it doesn't make sense what it is they're doing and what it is that they're showing us, simply because if you are an investigator, see, the police know that they can't do this. The police know that if you take evidence and you hide it, you might get a felony and you're going to jail, okay? The police know that you can't hide evidence. The police know that you have to turn in evidence from both sides. The police know that if you want to go get a warrant, you have to show everything you got. You can't say like, oh, I'm going to just show part of this, and then I'm going to, try to see if I can snatch this person up and get them brought in. Or I can't like put evidence in that I think is true, or I want to say is true, and then not turn in the other side. So if you guys can see here clearly that this woman has done exactly what the courts say that you cannot do on the court case information I just showed you guys earlier, please let me know. Oh yeah, I know the police do it, but they know they're not supposed to do it. You see, they know they're wrong. And so what happens in most cases is people will do stuff wrong to you, and they expect that you're too dumb to understand the system. So what we almost have to do is we kind of just got to let the system ride and self-destruct and tell on itself, because just in Arizona a couple of weeks ago, we got proof that I don't even think it was a couple of weeks ago. It might have been last week. There was a Supreme Court case that came out that said that Arizona CPS were taking kids without warrants, and it was illegal. So CPS kidnapped some kids. All right, they took somebody's kids without a warrant, and now it's known. It's on paper, which the court only establishes what has already been said. So it's not like this wasn't the law before. They're taking people's kids without warrants. And see, Kelly Townsend, when she talked about the whole warrant issue, and she said that she was told that there was no warrants given out, and then they asked about court orders, and I think they kind of glossed over it, but it was no court orders. So if there was no court orders given out, if that's the truth, and we'll see that too, whatever they gave me was not a court order, which meant that it was something else. So then that means that you gave me something false. So we're going to look deep into that too. But hey, people want to play a game. People want to be silly with people's little ones, and they think that people are going to just sit down and be stupid. Now, you might want to get upset with me for telling on y'all. You might want to try to get me arrested because, the threats y'all made before when y'all said, yeah, you could get 60 days in jail for telling what happens in here. And then the one assistant attorney general, she says, oh, Judge, tell him he can't say any of our names, tell anything that goes on here. They can't tell anything that happens or whatever. And if they do, they could get sanctions and this, that, and the other. So they're inside of a private trust meeting. And I told them I withdraw from the trust. They didn't want to let me out. I have the right to contract or uncontract. You ain't want to let me out. So your court is a contract court, right? Their court is a contract court. It's not even really a court, but it's a contract type of system, and there's a trust, okay? So there's a private trust that has been set up that they're using in order to start drama and to make it seem like there's some type of legitimate controversy. I'll get it later. There's some type of legitimate controversy. But there is no legitimate controversy. There's fraud being brought upon the court. So we'll see if there's equal protection under the law. We'll see if they want to really do us right, because it gets deeper and deeper. The next video I might show y'all will probably be, if God lets me live and all that good stuff. The next video I'll show you is where just right here there were maybe 5 to 9 cops, and the 5 I'll name names. The AG is Marty Gomez. Go look at my federal court case, Watson versus Ives. You'll see they closed it. It's about to open back up, and you're going to see the evidence of the fraud they did. And I made the claim that they stole my little ones. Look in there. You're going to see the names of different people who are involved in the case. Watson versus Ives. Okay. Now, here's what's deep. The video that I'm going to show you is going to be a breakdown of a caseworker who thought he was picking up my little one, which I don't have, my new little one, and there's no way for me to even have access. But the thing is that he came, and I asked him in front of the police. I said, look, didn't I give evidence to the other caseworker that she decided not to turn into the court, her and her partner? Didn't I give it to him and they didn't turn it in? He said, yep. I said, and didn't I tell that there was fraud upon the court, and I told the judge, or didn't I show everybody that they committed fraud upon the court? He said, yep, in front of the police. Then I said, didn't I also show that there was fraud upon the court and told the judge that she was a mandated reporter, which I didn't know she was in a trust? Because in a trust, you don't have to tell. Oh, shucks, my phone is dimming out. But I said, didn't I tell that it was a trust? Didn't I tell that she was a mandated reporter and she had to tell, and she said that I am not the police? And he said, yep. So I got him on record. He didn't even know that he was on a recorder, and I got this separated around the country right now, just in case something happened to me. Y'all gonna be able to hear it. I record everything, okay? Now, the one other thing that I'm working on now, I think we're going to get a subpoena for it. They're on tape too, where the caseworker tells someone, and got caught on tape, tell someone, oh, we know we don't have anything on these parents, but because the dad decided to fight back, the judge decided to keep his kids for 60 to 90 more days. All right? Now, we're going to have to subpoena that one. But they got caught on tape telling that because I fought back, even though they knew nothing was wrong in the case and that they had nothing on us, parents, that they had to... they decided to keep the kids 60 to 90 more days. So Arizona, I'm going to give y'all a chance to do what's right, and I'll shut my freaking mouth for a little while. I'm going to give y'all a chance to do what's right. I already told y'all, if y'all would have gave me my kids back, I would have let everything go, and I would not have charged you for what I told you. From day one, you need to pay me $5,000 a day for each little one that you take and you hold. So I told y'all what I was going to do, and I was nice, and I was respectful, and I didn't try to act vengeful, but you guys got too cocky and you wanted to keep going. So I'm going to keep going, and I got other people with evidence ready to go to keep going. It's going to keep falling on you, and you're not going to be able to run and hide. I'm going to make, not me, I'm nothing. Let me not say that. I'm not going to make anything happen. The God of heaven, because I come in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, the God of heaven is going to make you pay for what it is you've done. And he's going to let everybody hear your own words, like I did today. Tell on you, your own words. All these little lies you said, all these evil things, your own words are going to come back to bite you. So get ready. You can send my little guys home, and I'll have mercy. You can send my little kids home, and I'll have mercy. But if you are foolish and you decide that you're not going to send my little guys home, just know, enjoy them while you have them. God will bring me back with them one day. I'm not losing that much, but you're going to lose a lot